portions of this show are recorded. Strap in and be prepared.
You just heard Baby J about 3 minutes give his entire A to Z on what was going on. I didn't interrupt you.
I don't even I got to everything, honestly.
No, you didn't get to everything.
Interesting guests.
Kelly Graves, Mike Parker, Josh Pate, Melissa Lombardi, Yogi Roth, who said that Justin and I are smart.
Sharp opinions.
I can see Dan Lanning sitting in his office, rubbing his hands together and saying, yeah, bring it on. You're just giving me juice.
I think you could be the type of team that has guys that excel in certain things. You don't need somebody that's great at everything. You need to be able to put guys in position where they're going to succeed.
And some smiles.
Is this thing on?
Is this thing working? No, that's why you got to do this. You got to go.
Hello?
Hello? Testing, testing,
it's like the little
testing.
girl in Nemo where she's tapping on the glass.
Fishy! Fishy, wake up, Fishy!
It's Danny Havel.
We have to be more specific. We have a lot of pickle things going on,
know.
apparently.
Justin Grossweiner.
It's a Schwar bomb. That's a man right there hitting that ball.
Danny and Justin starts now on Fox Sports Eugene and Newport.
Hello, neighbors, and welcome high atop the Delta Triad, the Crystal Palace in Eugene and Newport. Welcome to the Danny and Justin radio program, live from the Bigfoot Beverages studios on Fox Sports. Wow, what a weekend. Boy, if you were, and it was a weird weekend, and we'll get into that, but if you were down at Autzen Stadium on Friday night, you enjoyed a spectacular performance by the Ducks, leaving no doubt as they raced over, around, through Minnesota, 42-13. We'll hear a lot of audio from Dan Lanning, Dante Moore, Kenyon Sadiq in the program. We got Beaver audio as well. Rob Akey, the interim head coach. That one was not as much fun. Had women's basketball as well. Big Civil War matchup in men's basketball tonight. We are not going to talk about pro football. Probably. We're also going to have the coach, Kelly Graves, from the Oregon women's basketball program, on with us. But before we do all of that, let's welcome in a tag team partner. Live from Portland, it's Baby J. What a boy.
It's been a great weekend, as you said. And I do have to say, though, I'm already getting pre-annoyed at the college football playoff rankings that I think are going to come out. And I think that there's going to be some things that I'm not going to like on there. But we'll see. I'm going to try to temper myself until that time. But I'm already a little bit like I'm hearing some things about the way this is going to go down that I'm kind of not happy about. But we'll see what happens.
Well, so the Ducks move up. Only one in a tie now in the AP poll at number 6 with Texas Tech. But the projections still, and it's just projections, but honestly, they've been pretty accurate. Coming out still has Oregon in that 8, and some of them even have them back down to a 9 seed, still on path to play Notre Dame or Texas Tech. So I don't know. Myself. I think the politics that come into this just start to get convoluted, and, Alabama loses, but they only drop a little bit. In fact, I think they're still actually, as a 2-loss team, still seated above Oregon in some of the CFPs. So if you want to dive into that later on in the program, we certainly can. But was the weekend weird for you? Because I woke up on Saturday and was driving around, and it felt like Sunday to me. Was that just because of Oregon football? Is that the way that's why I felt that?
It was absolutely that type of weekend for me as well. Yeah, I woke up on Saturday, and I drove up to Portland that day, and I was kind of like, feels like today's a Sunday, but it's not. It was a Saturday. And then Sunday, I got to – so it was weird. I don't usually get to just watch all the college football games. I'm usually doing game day.
Yeah, you're working.
For the Ducks, or the Beavers. So, yeah, I'm kind of working, but it was weird being able to just kind of sit down and watch all the games. So I got to watch the Texas A&M and South Carolina game. I got to watch some of the Iowa and USC games.
Georgia? Did you watch Georgia?
I got to watch the relevant parts of it, but because Texas is very good. Surprise, surprise.
That was pretty dismissive right there, Baby J. That was fairly dismissive. I don't like the world. I was in and out of that game.
I actually think Georgia's good. So I'm not going to disrespect Georgia. It was an interesting day of college football for sure.
So the Ducks get a big win. 42-13. Dante Moore, after playing a couple of games in wind and rain, he sets records for Oregon in terms of passing complete percentage, 90%. He was 27 of 30, very efficient, 306 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Ducks are now 9-1 overall, 6-1 in Big Ten. 2 regular season matchups at home against USC and then on the road at Washington to close out November. And then they'll sit and wait and see where everything falls out. But the Ducks score 14 points in the first, 14 in the second, and then 7 each in the third and the fourth as they go out to a 28-6 lead. And you could tell, I was in the stadium, you could tell that Minnesota was just absolutely deflated. And that was just the 2 field goals in the first half. Tosh Lupoi's defense does their job. But the offense is what I was just still amazed by, because there was no Dylan Gresham. There was no DeCorian Moore. There was no Gary Bryant Jr. Of course, Evan Stewart still isn't back. We haven't seen him all year long. And it allowed the tight end room, right, and all of them, Justin, to really shine.
No, absolutely. And it was just a surprising performance and impressive because of that, because they were missing so many chess pieces on offense. But I guess the most surprising thing to me was how good it looked. It didn't look like this was a team, there wasn't like all these false starts. Like they were clearly well coached. There was no sort of I don't know. It felt so clean in terms of what they were doing, which was so surprising to me. Obviously, Kenyon City coming back and having a big game, I think it's just massive for this team. But you mentioned the other tight ends too, Jamari Johnson. I think he's a lot better than we're giving him credit for, and we haven't seen him quite as much because of Kenyon Sadiq, obviously. But Jamari Johnson can really move, and he's a big guy, so I like what they have there. He might be around for a couple years, so we'll see what happens with Jamari Johnson. He's been awesome for them. I mean, they're putting him out at wideout at times, like they did with Kenyon Sadiq. So it's just a versatile offense, and it just goes to show. You don't forget Kyler Casper is also out for the season as well. It's another weapon they've had missing. So it's just been a very up and down offensive season for them, and it was really good to see because Minnesota has a really good defensive line. They're really good against the run. Oregon's run game was awesome all day long. It was hard to decide between Noah and Jordan Davison who kind of the better performance was, because they were both awesome. There was some weird stuff in this game. There was the weird fumble at the goal line by Whittington, which he recovered. I think that one was definitely a touchdown. The one I definitely was questioning was the one McClellan's reception on the sideline for a little toe tap catch that I'm not so sure about that one, but I don't think it would have mattered anyways. But it was a very, very impressive offensive performance.
Well, let's start with Dan Lanning, and he talks about the efficiency of Dante Moore and that offense and being able to adjust, one, to conditions and second to injury.
Well, I think it was a great performance by Dante, but I think he'd be the first to tell you too, some unbelievable catches within that, some great protection, really efficient today on offense, which is pleasing to see those guys go out there. But there were some unbelievable catches that were made, and that always that's a great indicator of how the offense is operating. But it's a team award, really, when you look at it. When you look at his success, he can't throw it and catch it. And we had some guys that were doing a great job of catching it tonight, and he certainly threw the ball in some tight coverages, and guys made plays. So great performance by our QB. Been impressed with him all year. Glad we had great weather that he could have the opportunity to throw it and take advantage of.
And Dante Moore talks about the different personnel groups that they can run out there and how it makes it easier on him.
But it's always been next up mentality for people that have gotten hurt, on this team. Oregon's always has depth of players, so it's always next up mentality. And then, we just got to find different ways to get the guys get the ball in space. Kenyon's back. I know that everybody felt that. Felt his the difference of him being on the field with us. I mean, just overall, we can do a lot of personnel sets, but Coach Stein's always finding ways to make sure we're pushing the ball vertical. And today was a great day, and we got to find ways to put points on the board.
14 receptions, 178 yards, and a touchdown for the tight end room. And I'll say it that way because all of the tight ends contributed. And then there was that, you just referenced it, Baby J, that catch by Jeremiah McClellan that was questioned a lot and reviewed a lot, and a lot of those reviews have gone against Oregon. Let's be real about this.
That's very
the
true.
Early part of this season, and that's one they got. But I want you to listen to this because Dan Lanning says that catch is not uncommon.
I'll say this. I saw J-Mac make those plays in practice this week, and I know you guys think I'm kidding, but we had 2-minute drill on Wednesday. Excuse me, my week's jacked up. On Wednesday, and he made some unbelievable catches in practice, and then it shows up in a game. This guy's attacking the ball really, really well. I'm really proud of J-Mac's growth, and our quarterback trusts him, wants to throw it to him and give him an opportunity to go make a play on it, and he did it in that moment.
So we'll get to the tight ends in just a few moments. But again, your thought, that athleticism that McClellan showed was just, I mean, even be able to do that and make it that close was pretty incredible.
Yeah. I'm not going to take it away from him, despite the fact that I do not necessarily know if it was 100% a touchdown. But it was an awesome throw. It was an awesome catch. That back shoulder fade is, I think, the hardest throw in football, and it's the hardest thing to guard as well. So it takes a lot of timing between the receiver and the quarterback. So that was what was so impressive to me about that. And Jeremiah McClellan is a guy that I think he can kind of maybe be in that Gary Bryant Jr. mold if they need him to.
100% agree.
Being.
Absolutely. U of O defense, by the way, held Minnesota to 200 yards of total offense, including just 62 on the ground. This is a Golden Gophers team that wants to run the football, but they only averaged 2.6 yards per rush compared to 6 yards per carry by the Ducks. Just the latest example of Oregon dominating on both sides of the football. It did get a little light. Now, we've talked about weather, right, Baby J? And by the way, thanks for tuning in, the Danny and Justin radio program, the Oregon Man Clinics hotline at 541-343-5673. The weather has been what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, and it has affected the game and affected the personnel groupings and affected the game plan, right?
Yeah, no, it definitely has. 100% has. And it's been one of those things where, like, Oregon's stats are also weird because of it, because they're one of the best passing defense teams, even though I feel like they haven't really played teams that like to throw the ball. And Dante's stats, honestly, don't look super-duper impressive, in part because I think they just haven't wanted to throw the ball. I mean, these conditions have been really bad. It was finally some good conditions on Friday against Minnesota. But it's a team that I think can withstand that, and that's the thing about this Oregon team. They can play in much different ways. They don't need Dante to have 300 yards and 90% completion percentage to win. So it's nice when they can have that, obviously.
So Dante Moore was asked the question about the weather and how it affects things, and it was actually a pretty great comment.
Yeah, I mean, I know you guys are a part of this weather every day as well. It's been actually a clear day for us, and of course Bryce loves the rain. Bryce Betcher, I hate the rain, but it's just, it was a great day. It was sunny outside. I knew it was going to be a great day for us as an offensive unit. The run game, of course, was still there, but it was time for us to open the pass game. It hasn't been there these past couple of weeks, but at the end of the day, I love it. We don't have to throw the ball. We don't have to run the ball. I mean, whatever we got to do to get the win is what's most important. So it was great to be out there with the boys and make sure that we got the job done.
Yeah, getting the job done indeed. And Bryce Betcher loves the rain, which is kind of interesting as a but it is kind of interesting as a baseball guy, because you figure, with Bryce, you get rainouts, you don't get to play. So loving the rain in football is one thing. Right. I think baseball is the other thing, right?
Well, he's also from Eugene, so he's kind of used to it, probably.
Yeah. Let's get to Kenyon Sadiq. Kenyon Sadiq, of course, has been the big question mark, a scratch, and not necessarily a healthy scratch last week, but then on the short week, there were still questions, and he was warming up, and he was asked when he thought he knew he was going to be ready to go.
Yeah, I think from pregame, I didn't felt that good in a really long time. I think having some time off allowed me to get my feet back under myself, my body feeling right again. No, I just kind of knew, I was ready to go.
Yeah, he was ready. You could hear it in his voice. 8 receptions, 96 yards. And let's talk about, and this is the other one, the touchdown that wasn't the touchdown.
Kind of like a high-energy play. I didn't know if your helmet hit the ground, you were down, but now I do. So, no, I think it was a good play, and I'm unfortunate my helmet hit the ground, but it is what it is.
His helmet hits the ground. Did you know that right out of the gate? Because I was in the stands, and I was with some friends. And by the way, a shout out to Jeff and Holly, who were right in front of me. And man, did we have a good time in Section 15. That was a blast. But I looked at my wife. I looked around. I said, he's down. And I said, yeah, the helmet. And so
you knew.
Hand down, elbow down. Yeah, I actually, one of the few things I do know, if that helmet hits the ground, yes, you are down. So, but it was still.
I didn't even see it at first. I mean, you're not. I don't think as a viewer initially looking at the head. I'm looking at the knee, I'm looking at the elbows, I'm looking at his his thighs, what's on the ground, right? And so I just didn't even see that his head did touch the ground at first. So it didn't even register to me either way. So, but it was impressive. I mean, it was a heck of a non-touchdown touchdown.
Noah Whittington has 8 totes, 72 yards. Jordan Davison, 7 carries and 2 touchdowns. But I know Noah had a touchdown as well. And Jay Harris contributed with a short touchdown run as well, as the Ducks put up 4 rushing totes and a couple through the air as they blast Minnesota on Friday night. 42-13. One more from Kenyon Sadiq. He says they're just getting started with this offense.
Yeah, I think it just shows the guard versatility that we have in our room and in the running back room as well. Even if we're in 21, 12, 13, we still have the ability to play in open sets. I feel like that opens a lot for everyone. So, like I said, just everyone knowing what to do and just being versatile is huge. And I think we displayed what we're capable of.
So what's going to be interesting now in the offshoot of this, Baby J, is going to be the narrative that comes out of it for Oregon, as it almost seems like there is this, I think we talked about it last week with a couple of our guests, this region bias that these West Coast teams don't seem to be taking as much of the narrative nationally as they should. And I'll give the perfect example of a couple of weeks ago, Indiana pulls out a toe tap in the end zone in the last minute of the game to set down a previously winless Penn State. They've since won a game in the Big Ten. And all I heard, and I think all you heard was, oh, what a gutty, gritty win in a hostile environment. Yet when Oregon goes in and double overtime in a whiteout with Drew Aller at quarterback, with that running back room, with James Franklin as head coach, and a highly ranked team, it doesn't seem to carry as much weight, right?
No, you're absolutely right, and that's what I started the show with. I'm concerned, and I guess I would counter with this, Danny, is Texas A&M going to be held to the same standard by almost losing to a South Carolina team? And quite frankly, they should have lost that game. South Carolina played not to lose in that second half instead of playing to win, which always comes back to bite you. And Texas A&M, they only win that game. What was it by? Was it by 1 point or was it by a touchdown? I don't remember.
But it was by 1 point, 31-30. Yeah.
Yeah, by a point. So is Texas A&M going to be held to the same standard that Oregon was after beating a team which, by the way, was a very good team, which now is not a good team because Oregon beat them in that situation and broke them, and they no longer have their coach, and we all know what happened to them. But I just think that you're completely right, and I think that what we might see as well is we might see what I would be concerned about is Oklahoma and Alabama both being above Oregon. I think that it's probably justifiable for one of them to be. I could understand the argument of it because of it's Oregon's quote-unquote strength of schedule, which I think is very subjective, but that's the committee for you.
That's the committee for you. One person who's not on the committee, but he's a favorite of ours, it's the head coach of the Oregon women's basketball program, Kelly Graves. He's going to join us next. The Lady Ducks held off a hot-shooting Army team in the first half and built a couple of 20-point leads. We'll have the coach next on Danny and Justin. Danny Justin radio program live for a Monday. We'll talk about Oregon State. Oregon men's basketball coming up. Civil War, the only time in the regular season that the teams are going to meet. That'll be tonight at the MKA. But let's head on over to the Oregon Man Clinic's hotline and welcome in our good friend. It's the Big Kahuna. It's the head coach of the Oregon women's basketball program. And a nice win last night as the Oregon women's basketball team scores 42 points in the paint, forces 24 turnovers on a way to an 80-55 win over previously undefeated Army. And they go to Washington State on Wednesday after improving to 4-0 on Sunday. Coach, a wire-to-wire win, and I know you still look at things during the game and kind of microcosm it to keep working on things, but that was a nice win by your girls yesterday.
It really was. I thought, outside of maybe a couple of defensive letdowns here and there, I thought we played pretty well at both ends. I went in at halftime, we're up 10, and the body language of our players in the locker room was like, oh my goodness, like we were down 10 or 15. And I just said, you guys, we're actually playing really well. We can do some things better. But, in some of these early games where we've been kind of blowing everybody out, I think there's a tendency to expect to do that every time. Well, Army's a good team.
Yeah.
They're smart. They're tough. They play really physical, and they were disciplined. And we handled them. That was an impressive 25-point win, and so I was really proud of the team and tried to tell them that after the game, you guys.
Well, it's good that they're holding themselves to a high standard. That's got to make you feel and your coaching staff feel good. Mia Jacobs has 17 points to lead the team. Katie Fiso had a lot of help in there as well as your team overall shoots 56%. You struggle a little bit early on at three-point line, but then you kind of ratcheted that back up a little bit better later on in the game. But let's stay on the defensive side because I think when I texted you last night, I said I saw in spurts some really intense defense, the full 94 feet. So is this team latching on to that, and that's one you want to see more consistently throughout the game?
Well, I think that's when we're at our best, when we can create turnovers and get out in transition. Right now, efficiency-wise, we're just really, really good in transition.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you get steals at the defensive end, of course, that leads to, to the fast break. And, we don't do it with just superior athletes. We try to, keep the other team off balance. We switch our defenses a lot. We switch our coverages a lot just to try to create some chaos. And I think we do a pretty good job. We had 12 steals last night. I think we're top 10 in the country in steal percentage. And, and you look at us, and it's not like, we're just down and dirty and in your face. But I think our kids are doing a great job of changing things up. And, Ari Long sometimes doesn't get the mention, but I thought she had a great floor game, and especially defensively. I thought she was a catalyst in our defensive effort. Ends up in the game not too impressive stats-wise, but I thought she had a real impact. And that's kind of what we're looking for out of our players. We need some more to kind of jump on board and be more defensive creators for us. But right now, that side of the ball has been pretty good for us.
And how do you emphasize that when you have a player like Ari that can do things that don't necessarily show up on the stat sheet that are so important? Like, is that something that if players see her doing that it's easy for you to point to her and say, hey, look what Ari's doing. We really need stuff like this.
Well, toward the end of the game, I pointed that out in a timeout, how she impacted the game. And so just kind of that reinforcement, the team hears that. We always talk about our roles, and everybody has a different role. That's one of the things that she can give us, is that energy defensively, that somebody can create disruptions. And, we always talk about star in your role. You don't have to accept your role, but, because roles can change with time. But you've got to execute your role, and we always talk about being a star in it. So she certainly was. And, guys, last night, what I was really most impressed with, I think of everything is, we only had 7 fast break points, and that's been a huge plus of ours. They did a good job of not letting us get out in transition. So we had to execute in the half court, and I thought we did so tremendously last night. Our after timeout efficiency, I think, was off the boards. I haven't looked at those numbers yet, but we just showed that, we can play a half court game as well, and did it well. Army's a good team. They're going to win 20-plus games. They may win the Patriot League. They're probably going to be in the NCAA tournament. And so to get them by 25 and do it in the way we did, I think is impressive.
Absolutely. The Big Kahuna head coach Kelly Graves, the Oregon women's basketball program, takes a quick trip to the Palouse as they take on Pullman on Wednesday night. We'll be following along with that. 30 points off of turnovers, Coach. And part of that was with every little bit, every person that was on the floor was ratcheting up that defensive pressure, but then converting it on the offensive end. Katie Fiso has a double-double, 12 points, 10 assists. Sophia Bell, Amina Mohammed each score 14. Sarah Rambis had 12 points to help counter this Army offensive onslaught because they were bombing it from, I think, third row a couple of times yesterday afternoon. So talk about the balance that you're able to throw it on the floor as well, because minutes were distributed fairly even. I'll get it out, including giving Katie some rest as well and bringing up some of your other kids off the bench. You seem like you're getting a good rotation.
So far, we've played every available player in every game, which, you don't always get. But good production across the board, 5 in double figures. I thought Amina Muhammad came in and off the bench and had a great game, 14 points, a bunch of rebounds, really good defense. Didn't miss a shot until her last one of the game. Sophia Bell hits the 4 threes. She got us hot. She's the one that kind of carried us toward the end. I thought Mia Jacobs had some great looks at threes, maybe the best she's had of the year. Maybe she felt like she was too open, and just struggled from there, but had a good game overall. Again, very efficient, draws a lot of fouls. So she can score at every different level, which makes her really difficult. And then, you mentioned Sarah Rambis. She's got such a good mid-range game. She scored around the basket, got fouled a couple of times. So her game is diverse, and then really the one that puts it all together is Katie Fiso. Like you said, this is out of our 4 games now. She's had 10 assists in 3 of them. And she's just seeing the floor well. She's attacking the rim. She's so good in transition. She's the heart and soul. And we're going to try and get her more minutes on the bench, quite frankly, anytime we can rest her, because now without Elisa, her and Estera are the only 2 that can run that point really for us. And, Katie's not the biggest kid. She's kind of slight in her frame. And, it's a long season, so we've got to keep her as fresh as we can each and every game because she's so important to us. So there's a little juggling act there, but, I think we've gotten off to a great start. We've got to be better when we go up to Pullman. Not an easy place to play, and they're a good team. They've struggled so far, but I think they've got the pieces.
And you've got this kind of ramp up to UCLA, and I'm just curious, do you compartmentalize the season, or do you take it in stretches of 3 or 4 games, or is it the kind of thing you truly are on a game-to-game basis?
Yeah, you have to be game to game. As soon as you look ahead, that's when things, they come up and bite you. But the next game is in 2 days. So today is spend a lot of time watching WSU. We practice, here in a little bit, and so we have really one day. Tomorrow's kind of a walk-through day and a travel day. So. Yeah, the next game in basketball comes pretty quick. It's not like Coach Lanning, they've got the whole week and great, the routine is kind of set.
Right.
And, and not basketball.
You got to keep turning around. Coach Kelly Graves joining us on the Danny and Justin radio program as we finish up recapping Army. Look ahead to what Washington State's going to bring as the coach is getting ready to finish up his scout and get the ladies back into the gymnasium today to get ready for that Wednesday 4 p.m. First tip. It'll be on Big Ten Network Plus. And thank you again very much for providing my family an opportunity to come look up close to your team yesterday and sitting behind the bench. And I mentioned it to you off air, but I'm going to bring it on air. And I love to see the interaction, and I'm going to say overall and overreaching with your team. The body language is extremely positive and supportive, and it seems like these teammates truly do like each other.
And I see it every day in practice, on and off the court. It's just a group that gets along. They love each other. They play for each other. There's a really healthy respect for each other, and and that's not always easy. People, just assume that that's going to happen. There's egos involved. You're working hard to beat out the player next to you, but then once they beat you out, you got to support them. You're on the bench. Isn't that crazy? That whole, philosophy. And gosh, I wish our government and everything would work like a team,
Right.
We don't really care at the end of the day. That's what I love about my team. They're very unselfish. They don't mind that everybody else is getting their opportunity and some time on the court. And wouldn't that be amazing that if we ran the country like nobody cares who gets the credit? Let's just do the best we can. And I'm glad, and I'm going to tell the team what you said. I'll just say we had somebody at the game that, knows sports, and that was one of the things that they noticed, the great camaraderie. And it's an easy team to coach, man. I'm telling you, I'm really blessed, and things are just going well. Now, obviously, we're going to have some adversity at some point, and I think that kind of chemistry will carry us through any adversity that comes our way.
Well, Coach, one thing that crystallized for me was after Katie Fiso comes out for the last time, as it got down under a couple of minutes in the game, and she knew that she was not going to be going back into the game. It was like the first time I saw her smile, and she's got that warrior mentality that she knows she's going to lock in and stay in. But then her and the interaction with Ari Long on the bench was just it was incredible. I was watching more about that than I was watching on the floor the last couple of minutes because it was just so neat to see. And I think I sent you that picture last night. Is that what that is? You can't teach that. That's got to be something that's organic within the team. But I want you to talk first about Katie and the way she brings that, what I call a warrior mentality, to the floor.
Well, she's special. She truly is. She's the only player in Washington high school history to win 4 state championships. She did at Garfield, big Seattle City school. She is a winner. She's got that mentality. Never turns it off, and it's that way in practice. We have to limit her sometimes in practice, otherwise she'd be in every single play. And it's like, Katie, it's okay. We can take this, this possession off or whatever. But great leader. She's got all the intangibles of a couple other Hall of Fame point guards I've coached, Courtney Vandersloot and Sabrina. She just is driven differently. She's got great faith, which I love about her. And she's influencing the rest of the team as well. I can't say enough good things about her. She's, I hate to put a lot of pressure on her by, pointing out that she's got those intangibles. She's only 4 games into her sophomore year and didn't play a ton as a freshman. So she's just scratching the surface. I think she's got a chance to be, a real special player. And, and she's got a good relationship with everybody on the team. I think everybody respects her and who she is and what she believes.
And we saw Sabrina obviously make a really fun appearance last night. How great was it just to have her back in the building once again?
Well, it's pretty neat. And you'll see coming out in her special, I don't know if it's Amazon or whatever, but I had no idea. We had an interaction before the game, and I had no idea who it was. And so she fooled me, but I had texted her yesterday morning because I saw her at the football game. We were chatting, and I knew she was going to be in Portland this week because her husband, Horonis, will be inducted into our Hall of Fame Friday night. Yep. So I knew they were going to be up here the whole week. And I texted her yesterday morning and said, hey, you coming to the game today? She goes, oh, man, I'm sorry. We're in Portland. She didn't lie and say no, but she said, oh, we're in Portland, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, yeah, it was neat to see her back. I think she had everybody fooled. That was a pretty good little get up she had. That was impressive.
Yeah, she had the old plastic face on and everything else like that, and they did it very well. All right, Coach, just another quick question or two, and then we'll let you go. We know you need to get ready. All right, so.
Well, no, I was going to say, one of the reasons I texted her and asked her if she's coming down, the Army coach, who, by the way, I think is one of the great young coaches in our game, she had asked, hey, if we heard Sabrina might be around, we'd love to have her talk to the team. And so that's why I had texted her. Well, she did get a chance to go down after the game and talk with their team. And I was there outside the locker room when she walked in, and they were screaming. I mean, and it's kind of funny. It was a full circle moment to me. I remember several years ago when Kobe Bryant asked if he could come down and meet with our team after the game in the locker room and hear our players' reaction, and it was just the same with her. By the way, she was in that locker room when Kobe came in, so I thought that was a pretty neat deal. She's a special person that everybody loves, I think.
Yeah, she's absolutely a treasure, and we were lucky to have her, and you were lucky to coach her. And I know that you feel thankful for that, as she helped raise the level of exposure for the game, which, I mean, how many transcendent people do you really get to come in contact with that can do that, Coach, right?
Exactly. Caitlin Clark obviously upped everybody.
Sure.
But I think Sabrina was the one that primed that pump.
Uh-huh.
She kind of set the stage and had that kind of a crossover appeal first, and then Caitlin came in and took it to another level. So definitely those are two people, Sabrina one of them, that has really set the game up where it is.
All right, Coach, last question for you. What do you want to see in a quick turnaround and getting on the road from your team Wednesday against Washington State?
Just the same kind of play that we've had at home. We've had 4 home games. This is the first opportunity. We've had to travel, stay in a hotel, and play somebody on the road. I want to see that same intensity. We're going to have to bring our own juice. We're not going to have the crowd behind us. So, yeah, we just want to be consistent, home or away, in how we play. And that's what I'm looking for.
All right, Coach, thank you so much for your time, as always, and another quick turnaround for you. And good luck on Wednesday night up there in the Palouse. Bring another W home. And then, man, you start getting into the teeth of the season now. It's happening.
We do. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys a lot.
Take care,
Coach. Great show.
Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate
man.
it. All right, there he goes, the great Kelly Graves. I keep saying it, and I will say it when he's not listening right now. It's just such enthusiasm, man. It makes me want to go play.
Yes, absolutely. The best type of coach.
All right, unfortunately, we're going to bring the other side of this in. We're going to talk Oregon State football next. And Civil War basketball for the men's side as Danny and Justin rolls on here for a Monday. Once again, big thanks to Kelly Graves, the big Kahuna, head coach of the Oregon women's basketball program. Nice win, 25-point victory over previously undefeated Army. And he was right. That Army team's going to be pretty good. They will be in the NCAA tournament. Mark my words. They're off to the Palouse to take on the Cougars of Washington State. Old Pac-12 matchup. That'll be Wednesday afternoon, 4 p.m. The Ducks will try and keep the unblemished mark at, right now, 4-0? 4-0 intact. All right, dad joke coming up a little bit, but first let's all right, let's get this out of the way.
The Beavers.
Oregon State football. They fall to Tulsa 31-14 Saturday afternoon in Oklahoma. But is there a bright spot? Could there be a glimmer? Anthony Hankerson rushed for 46 yards, eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark for the second straight season, has 1,015 yards on the season. Just the sixth Oregon State player in history with 2 or more 1,000-yard rushing seasons. But I think the note out of this, Justin, was freshman quarterback Tristan Tia throws his first career touchdown pass, a 3-yard toss to Trent Walker, then his second one on a 4-yard connection to David Wells. He played just in the fourth quarter, 8 of 11, 141 yards. This was in one quarter. Added a 2-point conversion on a pass to Carson Boschma. Wells had 61 yards on 7 catches. Walker hauled in 5 passes for 117 yards. Has Oregon State finally found their quarterback of the future with the freshman?
Well, I would say this. If he stays, yes. You hope he stays. I mean, seriously, I'm super impressed. And I think this is basically one of the few things you could really learn and take away in a positive way coming out of this season is Tristan Tia. We kind of knew he was waiting back there in the wings. We didn't know if he was going to get some time. It was obviously the Malik Murphy show in the beginning of the season, Jabari Johnson eventually, but Tristan Tia was kind of always there, and we kind of always had questions about, hey, like, what happens if this guy gets on the field? And quite honestly, statistically, I mean, this is like not even close, is it?
No, he balled out. I mean, the game. Now let's arguably, the game was pretty much out of reach by that point. It was 31-0. And we'll have interim head coach Rob Akey and listen to a couple of things he said in the post game. But he talked about Tristan and possibly starting against Washington State here in a couple of weeks.
There's always a chance. It might be we might be the first people to come out with 3 quarterbacks at one time. But, we'll get that plan put together as we move forward. But I'm really excited. Tristan, I thought, did a tremendous job. He showed some good poise and made a couple of really nice plays.
Come out with 3. I don't know how that's going to look. What are you going to put Jabari Johnson in a slot and Malik Murphy at running back, or what would that look like? I mean, that was
Malik
a little
Murphy doesn't run enough to be a running back.
I mean, but listen, that's where Oregon State kind of is at in this season right now, as they drop to 2-9, and Tulsa improves to 3-7. Tulsa is winless in their conference. But you're trying to eke out as many of the little bright spots as you can, aren't you? Right now, if you're Beaver Nation, right?
And you want to be able to throw the ball, and so they haven't been able to consistently do that. And I'm not only impressed because of the yardage, but he was efficient, 8 of 11. So I think that at this point, you kind of have nothing to lose, absolutely nothing to lose by playing Tristan Tia. I mean, I'm not saying you try to put him out there and you just let him go.
Get pummeled.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't, kill him or anything like that. But I think you got to see what you have here. And, for Tristan, it could be another thing, too, where he might be a little bit more likely to stay if he's getting some playing time right now. And I kind of think you have to have that mentality of, hey, this season's kind of a wash. How are we going to basically – it's hard with the no head coach right now and a lot of flux. But I think you still have to look at a player like Tristan Tia and a guy like Cornell Hatcher, too, who got some carries, and look at those players and say, hey, what do we have here?
Beavers had another slow start on the road. This has been kind of their MO. They were down 17-0 at halftime. And Coach Akey was asked about that. So, is it just an issue that you have the slow starts when you're on the road?
Well, it's the ball game. It doesn't matter where we play it. If we don't have our eyes on our job and the big play happens to you, then that's going to be a problem wherever we play the damn thing. That's the unfortunate part. I don't think the location of the game had anything to do with it. I think, it's a matter of just doing our jobs at that point in time. And that's I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I really do think that's the deal. I don't think it matters where we were at.
Well, they got to get something figured out, and they got a bye week now. So you're going to get, I would imagine Tia's going to probably get a lot of reps with the ones in the bye week, and then you head up to Pullman to finish off your season and try and sweep Washington State, who's now going to have blood in their eye.
All right, that's what I was saying.
And they're fighting. They're fighting for a bowl game. So I mean, you want to have it set up for your opponent right now. That is exactly what's going to happen. So it'll be interesting to see how Rob Akey helps this team finish off the season. And it's just been, all of the platitudes and the stuff that we were talking about early on the season. I mean, after the first 5 games, it was just like, yeah, this is not going to happen. And it hasn't gotten much better. I mean, the one little bright spot with the Washington State win at home and an ugly 10-7 win, it still hasn't looked great.
No, well, there are still opportunities for them to come out and play better, honestly. And there's been kind of those self-inflicting wounds game after game after game. I mean, it's just been kind of loss after loss where it's just been like exasperating. Houston, App State, Sam Houston. I mean, these are losses where you could easily have won, and it came down to stuff like special teams, which hurts.
Absolutely. All right, so let's look at more positive. As we had 2 undefeated teams at Matt Knight Arena yesterday afternoon, tonight, 2 more undefeated teams. But on the men's side, as Monday's game tonight will mark the 366th all-time meeting between Oregon State and Oregon, which is the most contested rivalry in college basketball. Beavers actually own the edge over the Ducks, 192 wins. That's the second most wins over a single team in NCAA history. You know the other one? Who has the most? No. Kansas has 204 victories over Kansas State. That's a little nod to my boy Britton over at Mercedes. He's going to love that nugget. So this meeting is going to mark the earliest date the Beavers and Ducks have ever faced off, and this will be the only time that Oregon State play during the regular season. So they won't meet again unless they're going to play each other in the NCAA tournament. And this is going to be an interesting game for Dana Altman's squad because he's had some, even though Oregon's 3-0, and even on the Oregon State side of things, nobody's overwhelmed their opponents coming into this contest. So I think the matchups are going to be very interesting to me.
No, I think so too, and it's fun. It's fun for us to be able to get to see both these teams. It helps us out for sure. But no, I think it's an interesting matchup because of that. And Oregon's kind of still, especially in the guard play. I mean, Jackson just came back. Sky Simpson's has been pretty good, but Wei Lin hasn't been where we hoped that he would be early in the season. The guard play has been a little bit behind for the Ducks. So Josiah Lake has been awesome for the Beavers. He's been their clear leader so far. I think that both of these teams are trying to still find their way in their pecking orders and their scoring and stuff like that. So, it's a big game, and obviously for these two teams, they're going to know how big this one is for the fan bases, and they're going to want to get out and get after it. So I think it's going to be a fun one.
Josiah Lake, the second, you mentioned him, 6'2", 190-pound junior, averaging 14 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists per game. Des White averaging 8 points. Johan Munch is 6'11". So Oregon State will go 6'2", 6'2", 6'6", and then 2 6'11" kids, Yak and Johan Munch in the center. That size could be a challenge for a lot of teams, especially if you want to try and dribble, penetrate, try and attack the rim.
I don't necessarily know if it'll be a problem for Oregon, though. I mean, Oregon kind of has the ability to mix and match some of their lineups. Obviously, they've got a Nate Biddle and a Kwame Evans Jr. to go along with some of their other forwards. So I think Oregon can kind of handle that. I think
Oregon's got to shoot better from 3, though.
100%. No, 100%. But they've got to have better guard play. I mean, and I think that's just going to happen with Jackson coming back. Like, he's clearly just working back from an injury. So, but no, matchup-wise, it certainly is interesting. And there's going to be a chess match here. That's the thing about these two teams. I think they can both kind of chess match with the pieces that they have.
So Oregon State and Oregon after this game, well, technically this is a road game for Oregon State, but 35 miles. It's not like they're traveling across the country. But both these squads are going to head out until the end of the month as Oregon State will be heading to a tournament taking on Evansville, and then they'll play the winner or loser of the Iona-Akron game, and then a TBD into next week, and then come back home for a slate of 5 straight home games before they head back out in the middle of late December against Arizona State. Oregon, by the way, will then they're hopping down towards Vegas, and they'll be on a little bit of a road swing as well before they start. And actually, Big Ten play starts beginning of December is Big Ten play. There's a couple of conference games squeezed in there, or squozen in there. I just made up a word. Dana Altman, though, did get some good news end of last week. I don't know if we talked about this too much, but I know you want to talk about the signing into the a 5-star signing, and a kid who's got a pretty good lineage in terms of his dad.
Yeah, Taj Ariza, 5-star, and no, he's exciting. He's a guy that is the son of a very, very good player, and that's always good. I mean, everybody knows who Trevor Ariza is. He's a very good 6'8", 6'9" wing, and I wonder how. I don't really know much about Taj's game, but it is exciting. I think this is something that we haven't seen a lot of from Oregon recently, these top recruits. I mean, we saw it for a little bit with a guy like Bol comes into the program, but it's been kind of these JUCO and sort of transfer-style teams, but I think it is positive to see a guy like Taj Ariza decide to commit to this program.
Okay, so tomorrow there'll be – we got a couple of minutes to end what we're doing right now. By the way, head to Matt Knight Arena tonight. It is a 7 p.m. Tip-off as Oregon and Oregon State continue their rivalry on the hardwoods in the Civil War. So CFP comes out tomorrow, so we'll have plenty to talk about tomorrow. And I think the way we started the program is the way I want to finish it, is talking about what we might think is going to happen. I think 1, 2, and 3 is pretty solid, although Texas A&M, they had...
Well, they should be lowered, to be honest.
I don't think they're going to, just because they're going to say win and survive.
They're going to say they're going to say South Carolina is way better than we think, actually.
Way better than 3 and 6. That's
3 and 7, I think.
3 and 7 now. Okay, fine. But I think I'm more interested in what happens starting at 4 through 8, 4 through 9, and seeing how that shakes up, because you can't keep Texas in the conversation. Alabama's now got 2 losses, and what was ridiculous to me, and I don't know if you were watching the Alabama game, right? Were you listening to the Alabama game? Yeah. So you know where I'm going at. There was actually some comments being made, and I'll just call them out. Kirk Herbstreit's up there saying, I could see a path where Alabama as a 3-loss team could be in the. Are you serious
Texas.
right now?
Texas is a
pardon me,
3-loss
Texas. 3-loss team could get in there. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, ridiculous, completely ridiculous. Absolutely. I mean, it just. Do you know how many 3-loss teams there are in the top 25 right now? There's 2. So we can't be talking about Texas as a playoff team when you should basically barely be ranked as a 3-loss team. So that's my opinion on it.
So where do you let's just put it this way. How are they going to hose Oregon in the college football playoff rankings this week?
I think the team you have to look out for is Alabama. I think that I'm guessing that they're going to swap Oklahoma for sure over Oregon, because they have the same amount of wins and losses. Or sorry, no, Oregon has more wins. But Oklahoma has quote-unquote better wins that they're going to like. And I think where it becomes interesting is Alabama, is if they decide, okay, no, we're going to stick Oklahoma and Alabama right next to each other and move Oregon down, which to me is ridiculous when you have a team wins 42-13. Like, you shouldn't move down at all. Like, Oregon played great. It was one of their best performances in a long time, actually. So for them to have people talk about them moving down, it just goes to show the lack of respect for Oregon's schedule so far and all those other things we've talked about. But that's my concern, is that Oklahoma and Alabama will be above Oregon. They'll be in that 8-9 spot and then have to play the 1 seed.
Well, to me, what's going to be interesting is going to be how this shakes out, and then we race down to the stretch. And now, I know there's always going to be pressure, but Oregon honestly can just quit with all of the naysayers, and you take care of yourself. There's very 100%. Few teams that actually don't need any help, right? There are very few that don't need any help. Oregon's one of them.
Win.
They just need to win, and so that's what you need to concentrate on.
A joke!
I got fired from the bank today. A woman asked me to check her balance, so I pushed her.
Dad jokes!
I jumped that one in on you real quick then.